Hi friends, this is Miss Essery. I'm going to read to you the book called Fossils Tell of Long Ago. This book is mainly about how fossils are formed and what we can learn from them. Once upon a time, there was a huge fish swimming around when along came a smaller fish. The big fish was so hungry it swallowed the other fish whole. The big fish died and sank to the bottom of the sea. This happened 90 million years ago. How do we know? We know because the fish turned to stone. The fish became a fossil. A plant or animal that has turned to stone is called a fossil. Scientists can tell how old stones are. They could tell how old the fish fossil was. So this is the fossil of the big fish from the previous page, and inside its ribs is this smaller fish that it ate. This person said it's called a Xiphocatinus. Nobody knows why it died. Wow, that's some catch. The little fossil is bigger than me. How did the fish become a fossil? Most animals and plants do not become fossils when they die. Some rot. Others dry up, crumble, and blow away. No trace of them is left. This could have happened to the big fish. We would never know it had lived. Instead, the fish became a fossil. This is how it happened. When the big fish died, it sank into the mud at the bottom of the sea. Slowly, the soft parts of the fish rotted away. Only its hard bones were left. The bones of the fish it had eaten were left too. The skeleton of the fish lay buried and protected deep in the mud. Thousands of years went by. More layers of mud covered the fish. Tons and tons of mud piled up. After a long time, the surface of the earth changed. The sea where the fish was buried dried out. So these pictures show the stages of the fossil creation. The fish died and sank to the bottom. Only its bones were left. It was laying protected deep under layers of mud, and more layers piled on top of it as the land built up. The weight of the layers of the mud pressed down. Slowly, the mud turned to rock. As that happened, groundwater seeped through the changing layers of mud. Minerals were dissolved in the water. The water seeped into all the tiny holes of the fish bones. The minerals in the water were left behind in the fish bones. After a very long time, the bones turned to stone. The fish was a fossil. Some fossils, like the fish, are actual parts of plants or animals that have turned to stone. Sometimes a fossil is only an imprint of a plant or fossil. Millions of years ago, a leaf fell off a fern-like plant. It dropped onto the swampy forest floor, which is called peat. Then the leaf was buried by more peat and was pushed into the soil. The leaf left the mark of its shape in the peat. The peat, with the imprint of the leaf, hardened. It became a rock called coal. Coal is a fossil too. This boy says, peat is made up of mushy, rotted leaves. We use peat in the garden to make plants grow. Look how perfect the leaf looks. Lots of other things have been found in coal, even dinosaurs. This shell was buried whole, but when scientists split the rock, the shell crumbled away. This is only its imprint. Here is the other half. So an imprint is like if you have Play-Doh and you squish your finger in it, the hole that's left there is the imprint. These are dinosaur tracks. They were made in fresh mud about 125 million years ago. Sand filled the dinosaurs' footprints in the mud. The sand hardened into a rock called sandstone. Millions of years later, fossil hunters dug through the rock. They found the fossil tracks, exact imprints of the dinosaur's foot. It's Iguanodon. These footprints can help tell us a lot about Iguanodon. Scientists get clues about how big it was, and how fast it moved, and that it ran on two legs. So we are able to learn about all the animals that lived in the past based on their fossils or the imprints that they left. Not all fossils are found in stone. Some are found in the frozen ground of the Arctic. This ancient mammoth was a kind of elephant. It froze to death thousands of years ago. The grass it had been eating was still in its mouth. The famous mammoth found accidentally in 1901 in Siberia. Part of it was showing through the melted ice. Scientists found pounds of grass and moss in its stomach. The mammoth was fresh enough for wolves to eat. I wouldn't dare. Millions of years ago, a fly was caught in the sticky resin of a tree. The resin hardened and became a fossil called amber. Amber looks like a yellow glass. The fly was perfectly preserved in the amber. Other insects have been preserved in amber too. We have learned many things from the fish, the fern, the fly, and the dinosaur tracks. Fossils tell us about the past. My mother has an amber necklace. Here's the fly, and a spider, ants, a cockroach. They all got stuck in the sticky resin. So far we've learned that animals can be hardened into stones like fossils. They also can be preserved completely, like they could jump back to life right now. Like this mammoth was frozen and they found him looking like a regular mammoth, even though he was dead. And the flies and the bugs are the same way. They were preserved just like the mammoth was in the ice, but these are preserved in that yellow glass amber. Fossils tell us there were once forests where there are now deserts. Fossils tell us there were once seas where there are now mountains. So 215 million years ago compared to today. This looks like a forest with a stream running through, and now this looks like a desert. Fossils of these plants and animals were found in that desert. That's the Painted Desert and the Petrified Forest. I've been there. Petrified means turned to stone. Wow, a fossil forest. These fossils of sea creatures were found on mountains. The earth has changed a lot since then. So if all these fossils of sea creatures were found on mountains, that tells us a long, long time ago that there was once a sea here, and then it dried up, and mountains formed. Many lands that are cold today were once warm. We find fossils of tropical plants in very cold places. Fossils tell us about strange creatures that lived on Earth long ago. No such creatures are alive today. They have all died out, but they have left behind some surprising living descendants, birds. Dinosaur bones, it's a Stegosaurus. That's a pteranodon, the flying reptile. It's an ichthyosaur. It was quite a swimmer. I love museums. Some fossils are found by scientists who dig for them. Look, there's the fish it ate too. And they say nothing ever happens in Kansas. This is a great find. So we've been learning about these scientists. These are called paleontologists. Some fossils are found by accident. You too might find a fossil if you look hard. When you see a stone, look at it carefully. It may be a fossil of something that once lived. I found this fossil at the seashore. Lucky. It says you can find fossils in the woods too, or where they just dug a new road, or up in the mountains. We saw fossils in the marble walls of a big building. Marble is polished limestone where many fossils have been found. I want to find a fossil. Me too, girl, me too. How would you like to make a fossil? Not a 1,000,000-year-old fossil, a 1-minute-old fossil. Make a clay imprint of your hand. The imprint shows what your hand is like, the way a dinosaur's track shows us what its foot was like. So these are the steps. First, you take some clay. Then you flatten it out. Press your hand in the clay. Then lift your hand away. And he's saying, "Oh my gosh, it's my handprint. You old fossil, you. This is fun." What a hoot. Suppose when it dried out, you buried your clay imprint. Suppose 1,000,000 years from now, someone found it. Your imprint would be as hard as stone. It would be a fossil of your hand. It would tell the finder something about you. It would tell something about the life on Earth 1,000,000 years earlier. I hereby bury you, fossil. Here lies 2 fossils. Someone would know all about me, how big I am, how many fingers I have, that I go to school and take dance lessons and piano and sing and read books and love avocados. Every time someone finds a fossil, we learn more about life on Earth long ago. Someday you may find a fossil, one that is millions and millions of years old. You may discover something no one knows today. I wonder what people will look like 1,000,000 years from now. Find anything yet? All right, friends, wonderful job staying focused. Just to recount, this book is all about how fossils are formed and different kinds of fossils, like skeletons buried in stone, or imprints of a fossil that has disintegrated and all that's left is the print of it, or even animals that have just been preserved, which means they look just like how they did when they died. Wonderful job, friends. Very proud of you.